I will ask for that. I think we're on. Call this meeting to order. Good, we're calling to order, okay. Everyone, please stand for the pledge, and please silence your devices, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Kelly, a roll call of the commission, please.
Audrey Byer.
Here.
Chris Burkholder.
Here.
Dwayne Janke.
Here.
Larry Marshall.
Here.
Doug Hale.
Here.
Sarah Blumenthal.
Here.
Michael Feltzner.
Here.
Well, very good. We have a full house.
Full house.
Thank you, everyone. Approval of the agenda is the next item. Does anyone
Mr.
have
Chairman,
corrections?
I have one change.
Okay.
Item B, the language indicates preliminary final review. Preliminary should be struck.
Correct.
In that sentence.
Correct.
Final review. Okay. I have a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Thank you, Dwayne. Approval of the May 1st, 2025 meeting minutes is next. Did anyone notice any changes to that? I myself did not. Thought we got that pretty clean. So if no one has any changes,
Make a motion to approve the minutes from our May 1st meeting as recorded.
Support.
we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Approval of the meeting minutes. Thank you. Okay, so now we have a call to the public, which is limited to agenda items only. And if anyone would like to speak, there is time also at the end of the meeting. I would ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and I have a timer, and you'll get lights on. And please address your comments to the chair. Questions may or may not be answered, but most likely not. We don't like to fly by the seat of our pants. So if you have questions, we try to attend to those later on, but none of us want to just answer something out that we don't know. So please, if you would like to come up and speak, please do. State your name and address, please.
Hey, good afternoon. Matt Ruprecht, 13799 12 Mile Road. And I'm here to speak on the second item tonight, the PUD. Thank you, Planning Commission, for giving me the opportunity to address you this evening. I'll get right on into it. We oppose the development as requested for Dove Lake PUD and plead with you to consider alternatives. The plan, as we understand it, is opposed by every current resident that lives on Dove Lake, except Tom Schroeder. And we believe the property density creates significant issues for current and future Dove Lake residents and the surrounding community. In 2021, we would have fought the preliminary PUD. Every Dove Lake resident that I've spoken to on this did not receive notice. None of us were aware really of the proposed development, and we did not understand and were misled along the way about the development as it is. We were led to believe that this development will be different. I was specifically told that the density on Dove Lake would be different. Tom previously lived on Hidden Lake and laments the density, and he said Dove Lake would be different. This was the reason that my family chose Dove Lake and invested significant money to live on it today. We believe that this density profile creates risk from a resource perspective. Tom himself is worried about this too. He wrote an email to the current residents about the fluctuations in lake levels and is worried about that for the next phase. I'm less worried about the lake levels. I'm worried about access for our household water. I'm worried about I'm worried that the proposed development, which does include 37 on-site wells, creates a risk for access to household water. And I'm also worried about the large septic field with 37 houses, or for septic field for 37 houses to be built right next to within feet of my property. When I moved to a rural community in Green Oak, we never expected that a septic field for 37 houses would be built feet from my property. I'd want an adequate traffic study done, as I'm worried about road safety and capacity. 12 Mile and Kensington Road don't seem prepared for 37 additional homes, and would seemingly require a significant upgrade to prepare to support this community. We think the proposed development creates a danger to current and future Green Oak Township residents, specifically lake safety. More than 50 houses on an all-sports lake with less than 50 acres, to me, is scary and dangerous. It's my understanding that Tom slipped in documents into some of our closing packages to acknowledge future developments. This was kind of a bait and switch to the residents. We purchased land in 2020 or prior with the expectation that Green Oak would kind of stick to the broader community standard of the 2 acres. I'm not personally opposed to anything that has 2 acres, but the way this density is, I'm opposed. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Here's a copy of what I've said, since I said quite a bit.
Thank you, sir, for your
3 minutes
comments.
or less.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did, you were 4 seconds less.
We have additional letters from members that couldn't attend that I can give you at certain points.
Those can be given to Deborah
Okay.
McKenzie, correspondence.
I'll walk those over since you're.
Thank you. Is there someone else who'd like to? Please,
So-
again, state your name and address, please.
My name is Lori Fleisner, and my address is 27035 North Dixboro Road. I've lived in the community of Green Oak Township, basically 3 minutes down the road, for the last 35 years. I chose to move 3 minutes down the road onto a lakefront property because, again, I thought, I'd just like to say ditto to everything that Matt said, but I also thought that the density on the lake, and I specifically, my husband and I both asked that question, and we were also told that the other side of the lake, should it be developed, would be 2-3 acre lots similar to ours, no more than 15 or 16 houses on the lake. And I never signed such a document. That was slipped into some of the other closing packages because I didn't have a closing. And I think there's 4 or 5 of the other neighbors that purchased in 2019 and 2018 that never signed such a document either. I think that was something that was then slid in later. But regardless of the fact, when you're at closing, you're signing 300 pieces of paper, basically. And if you're told before that, as you take a boat ride across the lake, that we're not going to do that, we're not going to be hidden lake, it's not going to be congested like this isn't going to be a big thing, you believe it. But it's been 2 years since the HOA has not been turned over to us as residents, even though the deed restrictions stated that it should be. The lake is only maintained because one of the homeowners gets involved and makes sure that the lake is properly sprayed and maintained. Okay, so I'm sorry, the developer and builder, every single thing that he's told us has changed. I was told I was purchasing property on an all-sports lake that included jet skis. 3 months after I moved in, along with other people were told the same thing. I purchased the property, I built the house with the builder and developer. 3 months later, I got an addendum to the deed restrictions stating that I could no longer have jet skis on this lake. So, like I said, at this point, I'm concerned about this entire development, the septic system, the wells. I don't believe anything that's being said and who's going to follow through. And from what I understand, no offense, there's been a history in Green Oak of major septic fields, once the builder moves or leaves that area, not being maintained properly and no one overseeing the maintenance. And right now, we don't even have one HOA on the lake. So what's going to happen, no offense, is if the builder passes, moves, or leaves, or the developer, and then what? So, you know, like I said, I reiterate everything that Matt said, and I appreciate your guys' time today.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who'd like to comment? Yes? Again, please state your name and address.
My name's Brian Kaminsky. I'm at 27199 North Dixboro. Matt and they already kind of said what they wanted to say, and Lori, but the only thing I would have never bought on that development if we couldn't have put jet skis. I love jet skiing. That's why I specifically asked Tom, when I bought it, we can use jet skis? Yep, it's gonna be a limited amount of people out there. Lori said, changed it, but they still allow wake boats, right? It's like, what are we doing here? So I would have never bought on that land. It's a great piece of property, it is, it's developed nice, but I would have built on another lake, because that's the only reason why. I want to be on an all-sports lake, because of jet skis, so, and now it's gonna be even more condensed. So now you can't even probably put a pontoon boat out there to tube if you're gonna have all these different people out there. So is it really gonna be an all-sports lake? Probably not. It's probably gonna be just tooling around and hopefully you don't hit someone else. So it's unfortunate because I would, like I said, I would have built in a different area. And, but now I'm stuck here on this lake that I can't even jet ski. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Is there anyone else? Excuse me. Again, please state your name and address.
Sure. Andrew Huber, 27069 North Dixboro. So like everyone else has said, everyone that spoke before me has presented the argument perfectly. I might not be as much of a jet ski fanatic as Mr. Kaminsky, but I will say that we did not have any plans in our closing documents regarding this new development. I will say that plans were changed after the fact for no jet skis, and I'm almost positive verbatim, Tom had mentioned we are changing it for safety. Jet skis are not safe, people zoom around, so I guess my question is how do 30 properties on lakefront that can potentially have docks, boats, no jet skis, how is that a safe environment compared to 12 houses currently on there that could have had jet skis, but due to safety, they're banned for now at this point. So I would argue, I don't know how, basically speaking out of both sides, but I'm going to put up 30 homes. Again, it's the density issue. It's this many amount of properties being lakefront, potentially all having docks in the lake. It's definitely more dangerous than it is right now. So that's it.
Thank you, Andrew. Anyone else?
Bryce Hemker, 13785 12 Mile. So I agree with everything they all said. My biggest concern is we all have lots that have at least, I've got 145 feet of frontage. And now all these houses are going to have 40 feet, 45 feet. What does that do to our property values? It's a big concern for us. We invested a lot. We paid lots of taxes on it. And it's going to be a huge differentiation between the two. And again, I was one of those that didn't sign off on, allowing this or okaying it. So that's my big concern. And I was never notified from the township about any of these meetings whatsoever. Never got anything in the mail. My taxes always showed up, but I never got anything in the mail on any notifications of meetings or preliminary meetings or anything like that. So that's one of my big concerns is that I don't know what the due process was. It doesn't seem like we were made part of it or very aware of it. Just because we, most of us didn't live on the lake. As soon as we bought the property, we had to build houses. So like I said, our taxes always made it, but those notices, we never got any of them. So it's a big concern with us and the sizes and the due process. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else?
Ronnie Plazinski, 13835 12 Mile Road. I'm new to the Doug Lake community. I moved in probably about 4 months ago. I actually bought the house from the builder's son. When I was buying the house, I was concerned about the size of the lake and the density, and I was told by the seller that he was under the impression there would be no motorboats or docks allowed on the other side of the lake. And that was one reason my wife and I were very serious about buying this property, because we thought the congestion was going to be an issue with the new development. But we were under the impression and told that there would not be motorboats. So that was a surprise to us. I actually did not know this was happening until I got an email about 2 weeks ago. And I expressed my concern to Tom, and basically I was just told kind of that that's what was going to happen. So that was my thoughts. I completely agree with what they said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? I will speak briefly to the notification process. In 2021, we were meeting on Zoom. the notifications were as they are now, newspaper notifications posted on the building here, things like that. And so it wasn't much different than now, but access was a little harder. It was an odd time, so.
Could I say
Lori, do you have
one
more?
thing?
Yes, please.
Basically, I understand that. I mean, we all lived through 2021, but we were notified very directly by email and by mail of Eagle when the boat launch was going in, and we were notified of that several, months ago. I mean, and that was another thing that we were promised, several years ago. But my biggest thing is if Tom can amend the deed restrictions and get that by email to us, okay, in early February of '21, okay? He could have notified us of what was going on with the preliminary information himself, because he made everybody, not everybody, like I said, he says he's made people sign off on it. I think, Deborah, you said that he had proof that we all agreed to this, and why were we coming up with it now? But again, it was never mentioned in that. So there was several cases for this to become a discussion, and us to have the opportunity to oppose it, but we weren't aware of it. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no more comments, then we will move into these are business items, not discussion items. Right?
They are business
Says-
items.
It says discussion items. Further change to the agenda? No, it's fine. Business items. Yes, stop that. Thank you. Before it beeps at us.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
If you are going to change the agenda, you have to make a motion to open it, make the change, close it.
So shall we? Or shall we leave it as a discussion item, which is not a big deal to me?
If it's a discussion item, then vote on action isn't possible.
It is a business item, so we need to reopen the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to reopen the approval of the agenda for May 15th, 2025.
And I will support that.
To change it to,
No, that's a reopen.
that's
Just
reopened.
opening.
Now we need another motion.
Now we need another motion.
We need a roll call. Roll call vote. to
Roll
open it.
call vote to reopen the agenda, please.
Mary Marshall,
Yes.
Wayne Jenkins,
Yes.
Doug Mayo,
Yes.
Sarah Griswold, yes. Chris Burkholder,
Yes.
Andre Dwyer,
Yes.
Michael Foote.
Yes.
Now, a motion, please.
I move that we modify item 7 and strike just the word discussion and replace that with the word business.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Now a motion to close.
Close it or approve it as amended.
It's a motion to approve the agenda
Yeah.
as amended.
Motion carries.
Oh, now we need to approve it.
Okay, now we need to approve.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Sorry I'm being a stickler on that.
That's okay, no, it's good. This needs to be right, and I just noticed it at that moment, so. Okay, business items,
Notice it.
Because there was no motion to suspend.
correct.
There is no motion needed to rescind.
So, business item A, site plan approval for SP 022025, parcel ID 4716-05-100-008. Portion of Brighton Township 4712-32-300-067 and 4712-32-300-072. Request approval or denial of the site plan submitted by Pure Energy Window Company. Property size 6.15 acres. Zoning is limited industrial. Michelle, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you,
Please.
Mr. Chairman. So this project includes 3 parcels. 2 of them are in Brighton Township, and the southernmost portion is in Green Oak Township. And on that parcel, there is an existing parking lot, 4-bay, and portions of open space. The plan is to do a series of site improvements as well as a building addition, and only one portion of that building addition is actually within Green Oak Township. So try to only look at the part that's within Green Oak, although when it comes to dimensional standards, we sort of are looking at the whole site. So the three parcels together qualify as a zoning lot, and we can treat them as one entity for some standards. And then when it comes to some other standards that we have in our zoning ordinance, we're just going to be looking at our portion, and I'll clarify. And it's clarified in our report, but I'll just shout it out as well. The surrounding uses are all very compatible with what's going on. It's limited industrial. Pure Energy is already there doing their thing. There is some discrepancy about the south side setback. There's two differing numbers. In both cases, they're compliant, but it's good to have one clear number on the site plan. The impervious surface coverage is also not provided, so they probably meet the 90% standard, but we need that printed on the actual plan. There are 17 trees in the southwest corner that are proposed for removal, and 14 of those are oak trees with a diameter of over 8 inches. However, we spoke to the applicant earlier this week, and they are planning to reduce the number of parking spaces in that southwest corner to spare the removal of some of those trees. We haven't seen updated plans, but since the site is overparked, as we recommended in our report to reduce the parking, it looks like that's the direction they're going. So any recommendation or any approval with a condition that they do reduce that parking would likely be easy to agree upon, easy for the applicant to agree to. With the proposed landmark trees, there's of course some replacement requirements. It's looking like that will go down, as I just mentioned. The site is accessed from an existing drive that's on the Brighton Township portion of the property. But they do include a circulation map showing how a 46-foot fire truck is going to access the site. There is plenty of parking, lots of parking. They're well parked. The floor plans and elevations do indicate the portion, well, the whole building, and you really got to focus just on the part that's in Green Oak
That
Township.
sticks into Green Oak
Yes.
Township.
So, and I put a little screenshot of my guess of what's the portion of that east facade that's in Green Oak Township, although it should be clarified by the applicant. As you all know, we have this great standard about the facades in the LI zoning district that are facing the road. It looks like only about 63% of the proposed facade is masonry construction. It looks like 63% is not comprised of masonry construction. So you should all discuss how the proposed facades do fit the standard, since there is planning commission discretion built into that requirement. They are adding some lights. All their lights are compliant with ordinance standards. They're adding wall-mounted lights, 3 pole-mounted lights that are only 15 feet, which is nice, and 2 soffit lights. They're all at 4,000 Kelvin. They are including some landscaping along the road that is compliant with the standards. It's hard to determine if they're compliant with the general site landscaping because they didn't include that standard of the landscaped area. The area of the landscape area that's including trees wasn't included on their site plan, so they should include that in order to tell if they're meeting that standard. It's also not clear if the proposed sign is in Green Oak Township. If it is, they're going to need to apply for a sign permit. And there's some stormwater management and grading and utilities items that I will defer to Rick on.
Mr. Minor, would you like to?
You have our report dated April 29th. I have no additional comments on this, and any grading and drainage issues can be handled during detailed engineering.
Okay, very good.
I do just want to add that understanding that you all do not like to issue conditional approvals, and the applicant can clarify, they did get their approval from Brighton Township earlier this week. It's my understanding. Please, hopefully they clarify. I don't know if they're in here.
Is anyone here from that?
All right. Well,
Okay, then.
Well,
So that was going to be one of my questions. Did Brighton Township approve the 90% of this building?
Yes, they did. They did. Don't know the details about if it was conditional,
The facade, the everything else?
yeah, everything was approved in theirs.
Well,
And since such a small portion's in Green Oak Township.
I know, but it seems like there's a lot of things missing.
There are definitely things missing, yes. Well, things that need to be corrected to meet our standards. There was some confusion on their end about which, I mean, with the two sets of standards that they're going in, the two different municipalities, this is undoubtedly a tricky one. In the conversations with the applicant, personally, I think that they can meet the standards administratively with one additional revised plan set.
Well, we were through this before with the same company, where everything worked out fine. They had all their ducks in a row, all their Ts crossed and Is dotted,
Right.
and everything was fine. And we said, great, go ahead. We've come to an agreement. We're not approving things conditionally. So what do you think, fellow commissioners?
I think they gotta come back and show us.
They're not here to talk about it.
I know.
I think that we could legitimately,
Table, postpone?
I don't want to table because then it has to. go
Table's the
back
next
to
meeting.
Right, so if,
Let me hear a motion. That sounds like the way to go. There's too much unaddressed.
make a motion to postpone further action on this until the applicant can address the issues that have been outlined by our engineering firm and our planners, and be here to answer those questions.
Support.
We have support. Kelly, a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, it sounds like they're in a good place, but they're not quite there yet, and there's too many hoops to jump through still. So that being said, we shall move on to final review, item B, business, item 7B, final review for Dove Lake, a residential planned unit development located on parcel number 4716-13-200-017. The property is currently zoned RE Residential Estates, 108.51 acres in size. I shall move on from those notes to, now, my apologies, technical difficulties tonight. I cannot pull up site plans, things like that. We could not get things to work. So we're going to just work with this as best we can. Michelle, will you begin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm largely going to defer to Rick, but I do want to talk about some of the process. This 37 single-family home development did have the preliminary PUD approval from the Planning Commission on January 21st, 2021. Then went to the board. They issued their preliminary PUD approval in April of 2021. And that was following the public hearing that happened in November 2020. So since then, they've been working a lot back and forth with Rick. That's why he's going to tell you all about it. And as you all know, the preliminary was before my time here. So thank you for your patience as I catch up.
Why didn't we get Paul then?
I
No, it's okay. That was a facetious question.
But going through everything, it looks like if there is going to be any final PUD approval, there are certainly some conditions that should be attached to it, and they're included here in the memo that you got earlier this week. Particularly number 3, that's an item that's going to need some discussion, and Rick's going to talk about it more. It's currently zoned RE, by the way.
Yeah, I got that. I said that. Okay, Rick, your turn.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight tonight. This project started back in, I believe, 2020. We reviewed it up and down and left and right, and we believe the plans are in pretty good shape. Just a couple of things to bring to the Planning Commission's attention. There was a question about legal access to the property from Kensington Court. The engineer, Powell Engineering, did some great research on that and provided that documentation to us, which we verified. And so we are satisfied that they do have legal access from that private road, Kensington Court.
So there's 3 points of access then?
Actually,
Two.
no.
Two.
One from 12 Mile and one from Kensington Court.
Go on, Mr. Minor, do you have more?
The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, because it's going to take action on your part and then a recommendation to the board, we had, or the ordinance rather requires a bond for uncompleted improvements, and specifically in this case, the frontage pathway along 12 Mile. The applicant has proposed, rather than posting a bond, actually making an escrow deposit from which they could withdraw money to pay for the path installation. Technically, it's not a violation of the ordinance, but it's something that the Planning Commission should discuss. Make sure you're comfortable with that or not, and make a recommendation to the board as this moves forward.
Are they providing an easement for that sidewalk on 12 Mile?
Yes.
Because that's too hard to get later. So
Yeah,
so they're providing the easement, but not the paving, but the money,
Yes,
to then take out the money later to do the paving.
yes.
Huh. Who's going to police that, right? Deb? Any other
No, that's,
thoughts?
we think the plans are in very good shape. We took another look at the plans. There's some overlapping text that we would like to have addressed just to clean things up, but we're very satisfied with them. Oh, also, the PUD agreement, the final agreement should be reviewed by the township attorney. I don't know if that has happened yet.
Our township attorney is the one who is drafting the document.
And there has been a draft submitted. I don't know whether or not she is completely happy with it. That is something that, because there have been some changes proposed, and that is something that will need to be worked out. And with that, I can entertain any additional questions.
Commissioners, I'd like your thoughts. Michael, would you like to start?
Do we want the applicant to have an opportunity?
Yes, please. Would the applicant like to come up and address any items that we've gone over, or to be here to answer questions for us, please?
Mike Polo, my engineer, is here. As far as any technical questions, I had a few comments that I might address to my
Well, please come up, have a seat.
Yeah, my name's Tom Shorter. I'm the applicant here.
Just sit at the table if you wish.
You can sit, you don't have to.
Yeah, there's going to be some questions, so you might as well get comfortable.
All right.
You might as well get comfortable, too.
Well, a couple of things on that. I was one of the largest builders in Hidden Lake for a number of years. I had done 47 homes in there. And when I was getting this approved, one of the items that came up earlier was, are you going to have the similar rules as Hidden Lake has on their lake, which is they don't allow jet skis. I personally love jet skis. I have 2 of them, but I don't have them on this lake because I think with the amount of them and the size of the lake, it'd be a problem for everybody. They don't think so, but that was something that we discussed, and I put it in the rules. The other thing is, to be clear, all these folks here are on acreage splits. They're not in a subdivision. They're not in a PUD. It's an acreage split thing. But when I was selling the lots, some of my dear neighbors, I think, have a little lapse of memory, but I help refresh some of them. Hidden Lake has, the main lake is about the same size. It's got a lot of no-wake bays and canals. Oh, yeah, and a marina. They have approximately 300 boats on that lake. And wakeboard boats, which create a large wake. I'm planning on, which these folks don't have in their regulations, I know half of them hate the wakeboard boats, and the other half, they want the wakeboard boats. So they're not in agreement on that, but I'm planning on putting that in the new rules, no wakeboard boats, along with no jet skis for the new folks. I was selling houses a few years, probably about 40 some odd years ago in a subdivision in Northville, and some of the neighbors were coming in there saying, don't sell any more brown Tudors. I'm like, well, what kind of house do you have? Well, we have a brown Tudor. So once you have yours, you don't want anyone else to have what you have. Well, with that in mind, I had every single one sign a document, just so there's any kind of lapse of memory that they acknowledge. I mean, I'm within the ordinance, obviously, it's two acres total, I'm within the zoning, but of course, the lake lots are more valuable, everyone wants to be on the lake, so, but I have a handful of copies of the folks that have signed it, they may or may not recall that, maybe conveniently, I don't know, but they have acknowledged that, and know that there's going to be a development there. So this is a little surprising to me, but any other questions that I may politely address for you folks?
Who'd like to begin?
When you first came in for this way back, I was on Planning Commission then, and you talked about putting a wood chip path in the western portion of the property.
Yes.
What happened?
That's been changed. We upgraded that per the recommendation.
That's how you got an approval, a preliminary approval. So what happened?
We're going to make it gravel. We're going to upgrade it to gravel on the recommendation of the
Okay.
city.
So you're still putting that pathway
Oh,
through
yeah.
that area? It's not shown on the plans?
Gravel pathway? That was addressed.
It's shown on the plans, and it has been now changed to show a 21AA pathway as what was required by your township engineers.
It does, it's included.
What page is it on?
On page 1. Sheet.
It's not shown on every sheet.
It's not shown on every sheet.
Correct.
Correct.
Where is it?
Okay, but it is there.
Cover.
Oh, right there.
Sheet COV.
Yep,
Very good.
yep.
So you've changed the rules a couple times, is what I'm hearing.
How do you mean?
If what I'm hearing is correct, jet skis were allowed, then they were not allowed. And you sent a document around saying that they weren't allowed, or somehow the rules changed, or something of that nature? Who controls the HOA?
We're going to be starting one now. As a developer, I added those, that no jet ski thing, pretty close to the beginning. Was it the very first folks? I don't recall the exact date, but I think the majority of folks would not want the jet skis. I mean, it's approximately a 50-acre lake. I love jet skis, but with everyone having a boat, not everyone even has a boat. I mean, a lot of the folks just enjoy looking at the water. I mean, I've got a pontoon. I take the grandkids around on it. It's a nice spring-fed lake. It's very deep. I've stocked it with some nice rainbow trout. So we enjoy the lake, but not every boating. I know when I was on Hidden Lake, the majority of the days there was never anyone on the lake. I was on the main lake, and majority of the days was 300 boats. There was hard. I mean, a hot Saturday and Sunday afternoon, there were boats on there, like. But the majority of the time, you just enjoy looking at the water.
Okay, so I don't want to get off track.
Okay.
You had the authority how to change this and enact a no jet ski, not that I'm in favor or against them, I'm just trying to understand the process by which you went in and made a...
We made an amendment to the bylaws. My attorney had that done, Kim Shirk. I guess that was a few years ago, I don't recall
And
exactly.
those bylaws were amended when?
I don't have the exact date. Again, that was
Roughly,
existing.
after the preliminary approval?
Oh, no, nothing to do with this approval. Nothing to do with this subdivision. It's the folks on the lot splits on the other side of the lake.
Pardon me, Michael, you have the floor, but may I interrupt for a second? Do you own all the other parcels to the east side of the lake?
I do.
That you
The
sold?
108 acres.
Thank you, okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just trying to understand how you amended and what was amended to accomplish what you did, and what gave you the authority.
Regarding the jet skis for the existing
Yeah.
folks that are already there?
Yes.
Yeah. We made an amendment to the bylaw at the time. I don't recall the exact date.
Okay. Have any of the residents sought legal action against you or legal remedy?
No.
Yes, we have. And he's been notified.
I was notified that they're going to be starting association, period. There's been no legal
No, we
action.
were notified 2 years
Excuse
ago
me,
by my
Lori,
attorney.
Lori.
So you're stating here that there's been no notification of legal action because of the amendments that you made?
Correct.
Okay? Can I ask why you haven't given the HOA over to the existing residents?
I haven't not given it over.
No, I didn't ask you that. You're not a politician, you're a builder, I'm sure that's worse, but why haven't you done that?
I haven't not done it.
That's not an answer, sir.
Why haven't I done it? They're all lot splits. I didn't really see a reason for.
Yet they're
turning it down.
owners.
In the
Yet they're
bylaws, it says it expires after 5 years, which was up, I think, a year or so ago, or a while ago, half year. It was up a little while ago, so they're planning on starting association now,
So this amendment has lost its validity because it's over 5 years old?
The original bylaws, I guess I'm not an attorney to answer, to address that on the other side of the lake, the existing lot split owners. I'm not an attorney, I don't.
Okay.
I have to defer to an
Thank you,
attorney
sir.
on that.
I'm done.
Doug?
I had similar questions that Michael had. To speak of HOAs, I mean, I'm in one, and I believe our bylaws state we have to have, I mean, it might even be something in our PUD HOA agreement that we have to have annual meetings, document them, have quorum, for us even to be a legal HOA nonprofit corporation or whatever.
Okay.
My understandings are similar. I'm the treasurer of our homeowners association, and we changed the bylaws a few years ago, and that took a signature of more than 50% of the people. And so if you don't have a homeowners association, I guess I'm not certain how you can change the bylaws. Audrey?
I'm good.
Mr. Jenke?
You made the statement that the bylaws expired. Never heard of that.
Again, this is for not what we're here tonight for. It's on the other side, the lot split, folks. In the bylaws that my attorney drafted up and were recorded, it says that they had I had 5 years to start an association, or it would expire, and I hadn't started it. I didn't really see a reason. I mean, I don't know.
Well, at the end of the day, I think everybody, as your neighbors, would certainly want to have a seat at the table.
And they're welcome to do so.
I don't see how that's possible, given the circumstances currently. Seems like you need to be really rethinking your approach here to your neighbors. But to your point, maybe that's not relevant to the question here tonight. In that context, it seems to me, is there misrepresentation? Possibly. Possibly. I'll leave it at that.
Sarah?
I have nothing right now. I'm sorry, I was thinking, so.
Mr. Marshall?
I have a few questions, but I would like to return to this issue of the HOA.
I wish I would have brought an attorney. I'm not.
That's fine. Let me explain my situation on this. I also am involved in an HOA, current president. Everybody stepped back when they looked for a volunteer. But in our organization, the developer had stated very specifically that when a specific number of houses had been purchased and turned over to the owners of the property, that the HOA would be turned over to them as well. in looking through the documentation that we've received on your proposal for Dove Lake, what is before us tonight, there is no indication that I can find that there is a definition of when the HOA will be turned over to the residents. And so hearing what I'm hearing tonight about how it was handled with your other development along this lake, I am very concerned that we will find that this HOA will not get established, which will be a very significant problem for the maintenance of the roads, the maintenance of the septic system, the care of the lake. So what is your plan? And then I'll get to my other questions. What is your plan for turning the HOA over to these new residents on the proposal that we have before us tonight?
Well, the new residents are going to be in a PUD, not lot splits.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. The PUD has nothing to do with an HOA.
The city attorney is drafting up the document, and then I'll have the bylaws in there also, I guess, before. So it'll be addressed in there. I mean, I know there's, one of them is the maintenance of the maintenance issue needs to get turned over to, I think Highland Treatment is who we're working with, that we're planning on turning over the maintenance bid. So there will be issues in the bylaws that, I think it was the PUD agreement that the city attorney will be drafting up.
Correct. Not the HOA rules. That is not what Carol is working on.
I guess that'll be addressed in the bylaws, and I'm sure it'll have to get addressed. It's a much larger cohesive group of folks than just what it was before. Totally separate, I guess. 37 folks are all going to want to, it'll be addressed. I mean, we can make that, I'll make sure it's addressed.
Thank you.
And a timely on it.
And I think there's 5 items that the planning commission has highlighted here
Yes.
as
Yes.
Yes.
being deficient
Yes.
from approval.
Larry,
Mike.
Larry, continue.
Yeah.
Larry has the floor.
Michael, one question. Are we also to approve the document, the PUD, what do they call it? The PUD agreement between the township and the developer? Are we supposed to be?
That'll be an item for the board to
Okay,
do.
so it's not-
However, we're in no obligation to act on this evening. So I guess we should finish up with everybody's concerns and get all those on the table.
Because I have read through the document that Carol prepared, or
You have concerns?
yes, it's deficient in many areas, specifically the maintenance of the septic system, how they're going to collect their dues. I did not go and do a deep dive on her document. I figured
Okay.
she would probably get it correct. I could do that. and
We
it would
should.
be- And it
We
will
should.
be a long list,
We should.
because I've gone through that to get familiar with it, and it is very deficient as
What-
far as
Best thing that you folks can do as a planning commission before you send anything to the board is to have as many of the questions answered as possible, or
Okay.
concerns listed that can be addressed at the board level.
Okay.
And from a legality standpoint, the PUD agreement, that is at a board level. But there's nothing prohibitive to say that you can't forward all of your concerns, and then they be addressed, and hopefully ahead of time before it gets to the board.
Then I was not clear that that was within our purview. I will,
You can certainly, it doesn't say that you get to approve it, but you can certainly comment on it.
I will gladly do that.
Mr. Chairman, may I interject?
Yes, please.
With any PUD approval, it would always be conditioned upon the development of a PUD development agreement and a master deed that meets the satisfaction of the township attorney. And the master deed would include among other things, HOA bylaws. That wouldn't be in the development agreement. That is, I believe, the document that you saw that Carol drafted. That would be a totally separate document.
Correct. PUD agreement.
But, yeah, but it's not.
Right. So any approval for any PUD would be conditioned upon those two things happening after the fact traditionally, instead of before an approval. That's just the order of events with attorneys.
In the past.
In every community I work in, but because there's so much refining that needs to happen between attorneys after any approval. It's never ready when the site plan is.
There are areas grossly missing from the document that Carol submitted. The entire discussion of how everything's going to be maintained. The
But that
septic
would be
system
in
did
the-
not even get
That would
mentioned.
be in the PUD agreement.
Yeah, or that would be in the master deed.
Right, the master deed, sorry. I get
All of, yeah.
names myself.
I'm not an attorney.
I would
That would be the
like-
master deed.
I would like Larry to go over that, and I would like to address all those things too. I have
It was massively,
concerns about this.
massively deficient.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do you have more questions for Mr.?
Yes, I do. Mailboxes. My understanding is, from living on a private road, that the U.S. Post Office will not deliver on a private road. So the plan to put 4 mailboxes by each of the houses is not going to work. You're going to have to put a group of them up either on 12 Mile or probably on 12 Mile, or up by 12 Mile. You're probably not going to want to put it down on Kensington Court. But
Actually, right now, according to the map, it shows that is Brighton mailing. Now, it may or may not be, but on the map, it clearly shows that Kensington Road, all the way down to 12 Mile, is Brighton mailing. So, and on 12 Mile, South Lyon mailing. So wherever they would want that is where I'd put that. I mean, I would think it might be up closer to the end of Kensington Court, because that's where,
And that's fine.
wherever they want it.
You're not going to have little groups of 4 mailboxes.
No.
But it's a private road with gated.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
They're not going to come in
They're
there.
not going to come
yeah,
in.
they're not going to come in there.
Okay,
So
go on.
that's very minor, but I'd certainly like to see that the cul-de-sac length is specified on your drawings, on sheet 1 in particular, where you mentioned that the cul-de-sac will be longer than the 750-foot maximum. I'd like to see an actual figure on that. So
I believe that's been well addressed. You might have, Mike might,
I don't have that number, but we've gone over it many times with the planner and the engineer.
And we've
So-
agreed to allow under the PUD
Yes.
conditions it to be longer. I'd like to see what the length is. It
I
just seems
think
to
on the
make
road
sense.
plan and profile, it actually has that specific length and stations, but I understand your concern.
Is a standby power generator provided for the sewage system? I did not see that on the plans. And it does appear that it's a powered system. It has pumps, it has valves, it has stuff that
It
has to
does.
move.
It does, and I apologize, I don't remember if there's a automatic generator tied to that or not. I apologize.
It's not shown in the documents that I had. I would like to see that.
It's got to be powered all the time.
Yeah.
And our power goes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yes. Along that same line, and this is just a suggestion, you can do it or you may not want to do it, with the way the houses are closely packed together, you may want to consider designating a location for each of the houses for their own full house generator system. These types of houses, I'm sure they're going to be more than a $200,000 house. I imagine that most of those people are going to put a standby generator in. You may want to note on your drawings, and again, it's a recommendation, because you can't put it between the houses. You probably don't want it up on the lake. You probably want it back by the garage somewhere, so you may want to make a note on that and include that so that the residents are not surprised when they put their generator in and find that they can't locate it anywhere.
Those are pretty specific, too. They have to be not within 10 feet of an open window, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're very
I have
specific.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just put hamsters in a cage.
Put hamsters in the cage.
That works.
Good hamster.
I assume your underground utilities are electrical, natural gas, and internet, fiber optic? Is that what your plan is?
Yes.
And I don't know that that has to be shown on the drawings, but I couldn't find anywhere, other than you indicate where utilities would be installed.
Do they have to have an infrastructure plan? I imagine they have to have for the sewer system, and
I was wondering where the sewer lines were. I don't think I saw those.
I don't recall seeing an infrastructure plan.
It's very, very clear, I think, on sheet 6, and I may be getting confused. They're very well shown, sanitary, water, easements for utilities, so they're very well documented in the plans, and in the master deed, Exhibit Bs.
I would love to be able to pull it up.
I have the main sheet here, if you'd like to. Clerk, always with paper.
Page 6.
Page 6?
I may have looked at a different project today, but page 6 and 7 come up in my mind, but
So I go to GR, and I go to RD, and so far no 6s. Nope, so far no 6s.
I think Rick may have it.
How would it be notated, Rick? In the corner
ST6?
page.
That's storm, that would be storms, storm sewer, ST would be storm,
Sanitary 1.
sanitary, there you go. There's also water. And all the permits have been obtained for all the utilities.
God, I love paper.
See notations too.
Yeah.
Is it in there?
Pump elevation, house out, lot 5, yeah. It's in there.
All right. Rick, on your
And then-
letter, item 3, the proposed rear yard storm sewers is proposed as perforated to allow infiltration to the ground. It is not connected to the basins. My question to you is that a problem, or is that just,
No, in fact, there was something that the design engineer proposed, and we agreed with it, knowing that everyone out there is going to over-fertilize their lawns. We didn't want all that just going into the lake directly. It will hit the infiltration trenches and go into the ground before it hits the water. So we thought it was a good way to handle that aspect of it.
okay, that's good. I did see a note in Carol's document that fertilizers containing phosphate are not going to be allowed. So
That will help.
that should help. So that
They're
was,
not allowed in the township.
I didn't know that. So I don't fertilize, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's in the bylaws.
The conditions in the Livingston County Health Department letter are supposed to be included in the master deed and the bylaws. I did not see that letter from Livingston County.
We've seen a preliminary letter, but Mike, where do you stand on the final?
We have final approval and permits all the way through Eagle. So those should be in your file. If not, obviously, we can get those to you.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could shoot those final permits.
Yeah, I'd like to see those because those are supposed to be in the master deed and the bylaws.
Saw them regarding boat launch. I noticed them.
Yep. All right, so copy of all the permits, all right. And I will take a look at Carol's document.
I think when you ask, I apologize for interrupting, I think you'll need to ask some, and I get a feeling that maybe you're an attorney.
No.
I've been designing these since before site condominiums were even legal. The state of Michigan has requirements that you have to have master deed and bylaws submitted with every development of a site condominium. It kind of matches the deed restrictions in a subdivision that is rarely used anymore, subdivisions, so they're typically site condominiums. It was quoted that you have a development agreement, and that's a PUD agreement between the township and the developer that lays down how it's going to be done, all the requirements of the township are going to be met. state law requires a master deed and bylaws, and Michelle pointed out to you as that. And those absolutely address every single item that's been addressed tonight, including the wells, the septic locations, the maintenance, all of that is very, very carefully detailed and spelled out. And I don't know if Carol's office is writing those or just the deed restriction. Tom does have an attorney, and those have been created and reviewed by Carol, and I believe they've all been approved as well. So you just need to get a hold of that right document, because the development agreement will not have any of that in it at all. It just deals with ordinance requirements, not the master deed and bylaws. So you need to get a hold of the master deed and bylaws, and it will give you something to go to sleep at night very quickly with. So you need to find those documents.
All right. And based on my hearing tonight, I would like to see those before I would proceed, but that's my own opinion. A question, if I'm not mistaken, the boat parking area, that's where you're supposed to park your car and the trailer if you're putting a boat in,
Temporarily those spots, yes.
right? That's just kind of a temporary, you're not going to make that available until Phase 2, correct? Because right now in Phase 1, it's being used as the turnaround, correct?
Well, those separate little parking spots, yeah, I believe those are part of Phase 2. And I'm not really sure how much we really need to. I thought about maybe making some of the pickleball courts or something like that if they're not used, but that's part of Phase 2. But right now, yeah, we do have the cul-de-sac by where the new boat launch will be going in.
Right, and the parking area, what's labeled on the plans as the temporary boat ramp parking area, which is right now at the end of the road of Phase 1.
I didn't know that was that's where people will be launching their boat, but I don't know about any kind of temporary parking there.
I don't know what sheet it's on, but it's on your plans.
Huh.
In fact, look at sheet 1. You'll probably see the parking area
On the cul-de-sac?
right there.
No,
No, it's south of where the Kensington Court connection comes in. So that's a short-term boat parking is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Is that part of Phase 2?
That is part of Phase 2. In
Okay.
Phase 1, that parking area is used as a cul-de-sac.
Okay, I see what you're talking about, yes,
Right?
yes.
Again, this is a recommendation. If that's going to be a temporary boat parking area, the 14 units that you're building in Phase 1 are probably going to need that. And according to the Phase 1 documents, you're not going to put that parking area in until Phase 2.
I don't really foresee any folks needing a parking area for boats. I mean, boats will go in the water, and then in the off-season, they'll be stored.
So what is this for then, if you don't see a need for it?
Extra parking, temporarily. Sometimes folks, they pull up either cleaning their boat out or a motor home, they're packing to unpack or unpack, just extra little parking as a courtesy for the folks there.
I would think, it's a recommendation, it's not a requirement. I would think you may want to build that out in Phase 1, because 14 of the residents may want to use that.
For temporary parking?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, if you're putting in a temporary parking area for the whole development, half the development is going in and they're not going to have access to it. So you either need it or you don't. And if you don't, I don't know why you're putting it in. If you think you need it, because you designed it into the plan, it probably ought to be there to support the first residents. It's a recommendation, it's not a requirement.
Thank you.
And this goes back to my second to last comment, is that do you remain responsible for maintaining the improvements until the Phase 1 construction is complete? And at what point do you turn over the maintenance of this development to the residents that are there. I'm extremely concerned after hearing what I've heard tonight.
I'm sure that'll be addressed in the master deed. I don't,
What's your plan, sir?
I'm not an attorney. I really don't know what.
You know, Mr. Chair, we're spending a lot of time hearing, I'm not an attorney. I would have no objection to making sure that Michelle and Rick have addressed these issues that we don't have an answer for an attorney for, and so that we don't continue putting you in a spot, sir, you know, of not being able to answer the questions. I'd have no problem postponing this till these questions can be answered, or their attorney can be here, or you have time to talk with Carol.
I fully agree.
I
Others?
agree.
Let me hear a motion.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to postpone action on this final review approval. Do I need to read the parcel number?
You do.
Located on parcel 4716-13-200-017.
I will support that motion.
Thank you.
We should have a roll call on that, probably.
Roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Yes.
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 Thank you. A lot of work's been done. There's more work to do. Okay? And we appreciate all your comments. Hold on, there will be time for more comments.
Thank you,
So
Commissioner.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good there?
That's one of the guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, then, that's the end of business items, so we're under reports. Chairman's report, I have nothing tonight. Township Board Representative, Mr. Sedlak,
As I've been absent the last meeting,
you have nothing to add?
at the moment.
Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals Representative, Ms. Pearsall.
We do not have a meeting, CBA meeting from last time to this time. Our next one is May 20th, and we have one applicant.
Thank you. Planning Consultant, Michelle, you have anything further?
Nothing to report.
Correspondence, Deborah, do you have anything further? Okay, then, we have another call to the public, so this can relate to anything that's not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak more, please limit your time to 3 minutes, and again, state your name and address.
So, basically, Tom stated that he was never served by an attorney. I have copies of the letter where I personally paid for it and served. My attorney served him in June of 2022 for not producing the HOA and asking when it would be produced. Also, the changes to the deed restrictions, Tom keeps calling them bylaws, but it was deed restrictions, and the way the second one was written, it actually voided the first one because it wasn't written by an attorney. My attorney assumed he probably copied it from Hidden Lake and acted as an attorney. We all also contributed, most of the neighbors have contributed and hired a second attorney because my attorney is now living out of country, to address the issue of not having an HOA again with Tom, because again, like the lake's not being maintained by him, not everyone's paying fees, and we're concerned the boat launch, we were told when we purchased the property we would have in a year. That was back in 2019, I purchased my property, okay? This boat launch still doesn't exist, okay? He never told us that it was based on township approval of Phase 2 until a year later, then he said it wasn't in. But we sent him a letter about 2 weeks ago from Jeffrey Schushel's office, an attorney, on behalf of all our homeowners instead of just me privately, my husband and I. And his attorney said she'll address it in 10 days. Then he sent us a private email saying, hey, homeowners, don't worry, we're going to do the boat launch, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. So then our attorney went back to his attorney and said, Tom's now addressing the homeowners on this HOA and making all these promises. And she said, sorry, Tom told me that he's going to answer himself, not me anymore. So then our attorney sent a demand letter to Tom saying we wanted the actual HOA because he's never created true bylaws and formed the true HOA because he doesn't want to spend the $6,000 to $8,000 that it will cost in legal fees to form the HOA. Okay, he simply filed the name as Dove Lake, but he, then his attorney came back to our attorney 2 days ago and said, Tom's really busy, give him 10 days and he'll address this with you. Because we demanded that we have the HOA and the bylaws turned over to us in the next 30 to 60 days. And he just continually refuses it. And then if you, like now, we probably won't get access to put our boat in the water. The boat launch right now is a very scary dirt ramp that we go in off of in Phase 2, and he has a gate. And if you piss him off, because he's done it to me before, he won't give you the key code to put your boat in or take your boat out of the water once you get it in. So that's what we're living with. And we hate to see that continue for 5 more years.
Thank you, Lori.
Sorry.
Anyone else?
I agree with you today about the density. You know, we all bought our houses with the assumption that we were told that the whole lake was going to be like our houses, estates. You know, you're going to have state-sized lots. The lake's going to be a state-sized lot's going to be beautiful. And then, again, we didn't hear anything about this until, you know, just recently, and they're packed in like sardines. You know, you can't even put a generator between houses. They're that close together. So, like, the inconsistency seems really strange to us. You know, we bought houses assuming the whole lake was going to look like our half of the lake, and invested a lot building on these lots that were not easy to build on. And to then suddenly have 37 smashed in 10 feet apart from each other is totally inconsistent with the whole concept that was sold to all of us. You know, that we assumed that the township would keep up. You know, if they was approved with this big of lots, then it's not, this big of lots that are 3,000 yards long, so they can smash houses on there. Because the rest of that property, he doesn't want to deal with it. It backs up to the train tracks. It's full of garbage. There's trash back there everywhere. He doesn't want to clean it up. So if you just sell houses right in the lots, it's easy. And so somehow it seems like it's like a hoodwinking that, we thought everything was going to be like our yards and our lots. And now it's worse than a subdivision. I mean, smashed in there so tight that, you might as well have condos and stuff. It's kind of like if you had a farmhouse and they built a major apartment complex right in your backyard without, you thought it was all going to be farms. It's the same concept, same feeling to us. Like we feel like we're kind of getting blindsided by this and going to have to deal with that. Not to mention that lake it's not the same size as Island Lake. It's not even close. 50, there was no density study done on boats on the lake. Because if you look at any other city that has developments on lakes, they usually have a study done on how many houses the lake can support and boats. And usually on a 50-acre lake, it's three on the water at one time. And we know 2 on the water at one time is a challenge. We're trying to be courteous of each other, and if there's 3, when it settles down and stuff. But 37 more, not to mention that there's a narrow part between the peninsulas and the other side of the lake. You put a dock out there, you're going to have 50 yards to pass, and that's it. And so it's just there's a lot. That's just one of many of our issues, obviously. But the biggest one is just the consistency. We all have estate-sized lots that we assume the whole lake would be like this, not a apartment complex on their side, basically smashed on top of each other. So my major concern. So thanks.
Thank you, sir. Are there any others?
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing about Gordon Foods, because I know you guys mentioned that the road's been studied, but I've lived in basically behind Gordon Foods for 35 years. Kensington, and Matt brought it up about the road, Kensington and Silver Lake there already backs up sometimes for 20 minutes with cars coming off the highway trying to get into the subdivisions that currently exist. Okay, or the commercial traffic that's trying to get in and out of that whole industrial area that backs up to this Phase 2. You're going to run another 37 times 2, maybe each family has 2 cars through that area. I guarantee you're going to have traffic jams up to high heaven. Gordon Foods, I already talked to them once. They were super upset because their trucks, and now they're going to deal with another 80 residential vehicles, because nobody's going to want to use the dirt roads, because I guarantee as soon as it rains, the dirt road potholes are bigger than my car. So even the residents that are currently partially using the dirt roads are going to start using that as an access way. So, sorry, I just wanted to mention that about the
Thank you.
commercial businesses. Sorry.
Sir, it's all right. State your name again.
This will be real quick. I do want to say I appreciate,
Please state your name again.
Brian Kaminsky.
Thank you.
I do appreciate several of you really grilling him on the HOA and how he has handled it, because it has not been handled well. He's flat out lied to us. Like I said, I would have never bought in that development. He's lied to us about many things. He's shady. He's built somewhat shady homes. There've been a lot of issues with him. But regardless, please force him to deal with this and our situation before even approving anything for this other development. Because if he can't get this right, you think the next one's going to be right. So highly doubt it. But I appreciate everyone's time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I just have one real quick thing, Ron Plazinski again. Basically, he said today that he was not going to have wake boats today, and on his website now, if you're purchasing a property, it says all sports lake. So he's lying to the potential buyers on the other side. So the inconsistencies you can see here, I was told there was going to be no boats on the other side, and now he's 37. I just think it's too much. It's not safe. Someone will get hurt, and then ultimately it will come back to you guys and why was it approved. So I appreciate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, good meeting tonight, and thank you all for your input. And we're pretty careful about these things, and we do our best. So we're going to keep at it. On that, meeting adjourned.